And then the Kikuyu is working now.
Welcome back. You're watching Morning Express. Thank you for staying with us. We continue in terms of the latest news making headlines, but let's review the week. A couple of stories stood out, apart from the ones we've already covered. The education sector with the rollout, or rather intake, of the Form 1s joining secondary schools across the country. The NEMIS has also been put into sharp contention in terms of the placement of these young individuals, but also the 100% transition from primary to secondary level has also brought about a bulge in terms of the population expected to join school, even as infrastructure is sort of a challenge. Of course, the ministry released the capitation fee, much needed for the secondary schools, a week later, but the fans are definitely going to do well. Kasim Tandaza, this is perhaps your area. I'm pretty sure that your constituents might have voiced a couple of concerns in regards to the Form 1 admission. What stood out for you, even as a couple of stories were highlighted throughout the week, as I've mentioned?
I think the Minister of Education can do far much better in terms of getting issuing instructions and guidances when it comes to matters of education. More so now, we are talking about the 100% transition. In most places, not in all, but in most places, in my constituency, I would say in all places, we don't have the necessary infrastructure to actually admit all the students into Form 1. Initially, we did not have the necessary infrastructure in the primary level, and now we are talking about the secondary level, which is more demanding. You know, with the COVID protocols now, where we need the social distancing, even classrooms and whatever, we don't have that. I've been confronted with the situations where the Ministry of Education, for purposes of 100% transition, which I support, which I fully support, they are admitting about 300 students into a secondary school, which under normal circumstances, currently it had only 2 streams. That means it had only 2 classrooms in terms of infrastructure. And now they are admitting 300 Form 1s into that particular secondary school. Well, I don't know how they expect those students actually to get quality learning. So there is a problem of infrastructure. There is a problem of the academic staff. It will be easier if we could say, well, let's have 10 outside so that we can accommodate those students. But there is a problem of teaching staff. The ministry knows very well. There's always been a deficit. They have not been employing enough. Probably they will say they don't have enough money. So to me, it is more or less like public relations exercise. The students will be in Form 1, but what will be their quality of learning? What are they? What is actually expected out of them when they are going to be 300 students with 2 classrooms, with the teachers where initially there were not even enough for the existing population, but now the population has more or less tripled. That is where we are finding it's really worrying when it comes to matters of education as we go forward. The challenges are real. Parents don't have money. The CSAs that admit these students, even if they don't have enough cash, to me, that is not realistic, because the moment they admit it, they are going to make use of the facilities there, which definitely cost money. So unless the government will say now we are going to go beyond what you've been releasing, because you are saying it's good news they have released, but remember, even the competition they are releasing, this has been the same for the last 5-6 years. Certainly the cost of living has been going up, and who takes care of the extra burden? It is the parent. The same parent where we are saying because of the economic situation of this country, basically there is no money in the pocket. So to me, as a leader and from my constituency, I'm trying to do the best in terms of bursaries, but the bursaries are not enough given the demand that is there. You give bursary, a student can't go to school because it doesn't have even the fare, it doesn't have the necessary school uniform, which is also required. So it's a total mess out there. But I'm hoping, and I'm a very optimistic person, that the parents will do the best that we can. Us leaders will do the best as we can. But I think we need more intervention from the Ministry of Education as it stands now.
Well, the challenge on parents is definitely real, Kasim, and you've sort of painted a picture right there. Well, the Ministry of Education gave guidelines, don't send the children home in case they don't have full fee, but we don't know if that's being implemented. But speaking of challenges on parents, Prof, I'm looking at a tweet here by my colleague Linda Ugutu, and it's for grade 1 books on the CBC curriculum, and spent roughly 8,000 Kenya shillings just buying books for grade 1. So it begs the question, imagine the children who will miss out on this. It will be a big time ripple effect, especially when the parent can't afford this. So I don't know how you look at the CBC curriculum right now. It seems they want to review it this soon. Even as you comment on that, what's your take on the current clamor around Form 1s?
First, let me say that when you talk to parents out there, you just have the idea that this is almost like a randless ministry. We knew there would be double intake, but we did nothing to prepare the facilities for that eventuality. So now, I don't even know how it's supposed to work in Nairobi. With the rural areas, maybe there's a difficult children can stay at home and so on. But also the intake, you find a situation, you come situations where somebody in Nairobi has been taken to a day school in Kwale or in Lamu or in Western Kenya. And you are in Nairobi, that one is a day school. So there is a problem here. But having said that, let me also say that, what was the logic of even in bringing this curriculum? Okay, we have reviewed, we have introduced new systems since independence how many times? 3 or 4 times. Where we borrowed this education system from the UK, they have never changed theirs. Okay, our neighbors, Tanzania and Uganda, they have never changed. Are we now better than them with all the changes? So the question we need to ask ourselves, why do we do it? Why is our bureaucrats, every time they want money, they must introduce a project? Because you see, government money can only be stolen through projects. You can't just... So they have to introduce a project which nobody needs. This system they are putting here is an expensive system. It's the one which is running in the Scandinavian countries. Sweden, Denmark, no. It requires heavy investment by a government now ours, which are literally is not doing that. So why do we do things for the fun of it? There was nothing wrong first with even the A-level system, which we abandoned, because others have been pursuing it. There is nothing wrong with the 84 form, because that's the one the Americans pursue, that's the one the Chinese pursue. They are both the superpowers. Okay? Yeah. So what informs our changes? Okay? We can also see them with the Constitution. We make it 10 years, we are not allowing it to mature, we want to change it. Something is wrong with us, and to solve any problem, we must admit that there is something wrong. And that could be lacking, of course, could be what is in Article 10, patriotism and nationalism. That we do something because it benefits the country, not ourselves. That is the crux of this problem. So you have not seen anything here yet in an education problem. Yesterday I got a story. Some sister somewhere posted in the social media that the school is asking tuition money, which the government has said is illegal. The administrator chased away the kid, the sister who was in that school, go and bring your parent. So irrational behavior come from a disorderly society. Okay. We have a problem.
Well, there's a problem, and it seems members of parliament have sort of faulted the move by the Ministry of Education to revise the CBC books just 3 years since the new system was implemented. And Professor, what you're talking about might be true. It will cost the taxpayers 3.8 billion to revise these books. So they term it as unnecessary. Let's see how Kasim Tandaza and his colleagues actually push through with this. Allow us to shift focus, Kasim, to this, the once formidable opposition coalition, the National Super Alliance, which stands dissolved now. This follows the formal submission of the ANC, Wiper and Ford Kenya exit letters to the Registrar of Political Parties after weeks of promises to do so. Our senior political reporter Murimi Mwangi highlights the final NASA divorce submissions and seeks to explain why an even weightier task confronts the former NASA affiliates founding fresh coalitions ahead of the 2022 election. Take a look.
Important. It has been months of a nasty war of words between former Prime Minister Raila Odinga and his 2017 coalition partners Musalia Mudavadi, Kalonzo Musyoka and Moses Wetangula. And on Tuesday, ANC, Wiper and Ford Kenya formally inked their political divorce from the National Super Alliance.
Today, we want to put it beyond any other doubt that each of the parties represented here have now formally written to the Registrar of Political Parties to put an end to the issue of NASA.
A dream that captured the imagination of Kenyans, called NASA, has reached an end today through what our statement described as a trust deficit bedeviled by machinations and selfish maneuvers by some of our members.
Pursuant to the coalition agreement, NASA stands dissolved at the exit of 3 of the 4 founding parties, meaning the ODM correspondence now stands inconsequential upon receipt and approval of the ANC, Wiper and Ford Kenya exit letters by the Registrar of Political Parties and Nderitu. Nderitu is expected to ensure that the said letters and accompanying minutes of the meetings sanctioning the NASA pullout conform to the NASA coalition regulations and the individual parties' constitutions on the processes of entering or quitting coalitions. Mudavadi, Kalonzo and Wetangula have since warmed up to a new alliance with the Baringo Senator Gideon Moi-led KANU Party under the One Kenya Alliance. Yet in their hunt for new like-minded political allies, the 3 former NASA core principals cannot overrule a reunion with Odinga.
NASA ilifanya kazi yake ni ikakwisha. Hiyo haimaanishi kwamba hatuwezi kuungana tena.
I want to invite you to go and read the history of Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton. And they are alive in Hollywood. They married and divorced 5 times.
For the avoidance of doubt, we are reaching out to every person. We know that we need to form a political colossus ambayo ushindi utadhihirika wazi.
Odinga is yet to formally announce his candidature for the 2022 presidential ticket, with Deputy President William Ruto already advancing his State House bid under what he calls the Hustlers Economic Movement.
Thank you very much indeed.
The new Mudavadi, Kalonzo, Wetangula and Moi outfit, on the other hand, is still laying its political foundation, recently unveiling an 8-member technical committee that has been working behind the scenes crafting a draft of a One Kenya Alliance coalition agreement and harmonizing key campaign issues from the 4 parties for a likely 2022 manifesto, which is expected to precede rollout of the coalition's presidential candidate. The team, insiders say, is yet to agree on timelines to unveiling of the State House lineup.
Well, we are aware, Murimi, of those challenges. But we are not at liberty at this stage. We must also be strategic, we'll be open about it. We'll be keeping the media notified of every step, of every meeting, of every strategic engagement. As we speak, some of our men are actually at Manzoni planning out things.
Our agenda is to strengthen and consolidate the economy of this country. That is where we want to go, to create jobs, to bring revival in our agriculture, to bring hope, to bring direction, to make sure that the young people can have access to credit.
And with timelines to beat crafting a coalition agreement and rolling out a lineup and a formidable presidential campaign, time remains key to the strategists as the One Kenya Alliance takes shape. Murimi Mwangi, KTN News, in Nairobi.
Okay, so that story was ran earlier on in the week, but that's the latest to do with the One Kenya Alliance. Of course, just yesterday we saw that presser by a faction of Ford Kenya leaders sort of distancing themselves from Wetangula's move from leaving NASA. But let me start with you, Kasim Tandaza. I mean, so much to do, so little time. Rolling out a lineup, coming up with a proper strategy, and so much more. What say you about this, even as you add on the possibility of joining up with ODM? I heard Wetangula mention the history of Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton, divorced 5 times and remarried 5 times. So there might be a possibility of a remarriage, quote unquote. What say you?
There's everyone.
Well, just I take exception to your statement that too much to do with little time. This time, I think true, there is too much to do, but there is also a lot of time. In politics, we say one day is so long a time. What of 1 year now? You put it correctly, with a few days to the general election, but a whole 1 year. What could have happened to the NASA dream? I think it is obvious that it came in too late. It was a bit more of an emotional coming up together, unlike now, where people, some technical teams are sitting somewhere, a whole 1 year to a general election. What happened to NASA? It was also not out of what happens in any coalition in this country. Remember, since when Moi left, the late Moi left the stage in 2002, elections have always been won through coalitions. But these coalitions have a history of not surviving the 5 years, whether they win or they lose. The NAC won, it didn't succeed. What of NASA, which lost the general election? Remember, political parties are also formed on the basis of getting power. And I think this is where Professor have also to address it. He seems to be getting more into forming political parties based on policies and issues rather than actually capturing power. Because however good you're going to have your policies and manifestos, if you are not in power, they are useless. You cannot implement them. So essentially, every political party right now in the country, even the ones who would want to call briefcase, their wish is how much I could win the presidency, how much I could be in the government. And that is why parties now coming to the reality that no single party, and I've said this before, even the deputy president, who is currently seems to be alone, going forward, watch this space, there will be a coalition of these parties. And with 1 year to the general election, this is the right time. And I want to add a rider that they should not be crafting, the coalition should not just be crafting for the purposes of just winning power, but also harmonizing their manifesto so that with the proper policies agreed this time around, whatever coalition wins in 2022, it will go up to 2027 and beyond. In politics, Jesse, I'm not ruling any leader working with any person at this point. This is something that should be clear to our voters. It is so sad that when the ordinary voter now takes a very hard stand against another political party or another leader. I think this is totally misinformed. It is not backed by any realities on the ground when it comes to our Kenyan politicians. So I'm not just talking about ODM. I'm talking about any other political player on the field out there. There is a possibility of coming together with the One Kenya Alliance or another.
Kasim,
our leaders have been very open on this, that it's not a closed shop. Let's not talk about Musalia, Wetangula, and Kalonzo, and Gideon Moi, and stop there. No, it is still open. And I think that is the way to go.
And it's still open, quite so. They're welcoming other leaders. But Kasim, what do you think are these principles offering Kenyans? Because this is criticism that sort of has weight. We've had Pentagon, we've had CORD, we've had NASA. They didn't capture power. So what makes them think that this time around it's the magic bullet that will actually drive them to claim, to claim that power? What say you about this?
I've been saying that initially these coalitions have been coming so close to the 3-4 months to the general election. And therefore, the coalitions normally come in on the basis of just winning power. Of course, getting the different regions, the different leaders. The Pentagon basically was a coalition of almost all the regions. You know, remember when you were talking of 41 against 1 then, which was, of course, a wrong statement from where I sit, but that was the narrative that time. It was about those regions. But now, I think where we are going to get it right, where the coalition should be able to get it right, is where now we are trying to come up with this coalition 1 year before, over 1 year before the general election. And I think now the crafting, the MOUs, whatever they are going to come up with, they are going to be done soberly, devoid of the pressure of the general election, which is 3 to 4 months. I think that is where the departure, the difference will come in. And this time around, I think we've all agreed, and we started from there, that basically what is ailing the common man is the status of the economy. And basically all the leaders going forward, they are now addressing the issue of the economy, be it on the deputy president's side, be it be on the other side of One Kenya Alliance, any other side, and I believe any other leader now is addressing the issue of the economy. So if we are to stick to that lane, and from where I sit, that is where the discourse should be on how we are going to revive the economy. And the policies, the coalitions now coming up with manifestos around that topic, then I think they should be able to survive the 5-year cycle, 2022, 2027, and beyond.
Okay, well noted, Kasim. So the economy will definitely play a big part. Allow us, due to interest of time, let me hear what Professor has to say. Number one, you sort of prophesied that the economy will be the big factor and it might erode the regional voting patterns we've usually observed. But do you also anticipate a Mandela moment, number one, and the possibility of going it alone in 2022? Is that a possibility in the midst of such coalitions being formed?
That is the real possibility. I think the people pushing coalitions are still in the past. Coalitions in the past have been based on tribes. You mobilize your tribe, I mobilize mine, we bring you together, we win the election. William has pulled the rug under the tribe. The tribe is actually falling into pieces on the Asola nation narrative. So these coalitions are going to amount to nothing. And that is why I don't advise the deputy president. But if I were to advise him, he should stick to his Asola business and go it alone and forget about the coalition completely. Because for whatever reason, he has been able to transcend the tribe. I mean, you have to give it to him if you are a scholar and you understand. Sometimes we do the politics. So my advice also to the opposition, because we need the other people also. We need the other group. My advice to them is abandoning the mobilization based on tribe. This time is not going to work because people are suffering, people have pain. People have realized that misery is all of us. It's not based on tribe. When the economy is not doing good, we suffer collectively. The Kenyans have realized that the sooner you abandon the tribe, the better for you. Give William competition so we can have a better government.
What about a Mandela moment, briefly?
There will be a Mandela moment.
In what direction?
The Mandela moment will be in direction of uniting Kenya, an election that will look like the 1963 election, an election without the tribe.
Okay. I think that's a proper footnote. Gentlemen, thanks for your time. Kasim Tandaza, it's always a pleasure to have you with us. Hopefully next time we'll have you in studio, joining us from Kwale County, the Matuga Member of Parliament. Thanks for your input. Professor Gitile Naituli, it's a pleasure to have you with us, renowned scholar as well as the former NCIC Commissioner. Well, we take a break away from the